Welcome back to Northwest City Politics in the Know with Juanita. We're glad you're joining our show again this week. We're always happy for people like you, people that are interested in the issues that are happening in our cities. Because it is important for good government that there be residents out there that are following what's happening in the city and then taking the time to let their mayors and city council know how they feel on issues. Ones they disagree with, but also ones that they agree with when everything's going well. Now we're in election season, so we're in the process of letting a lot of candidates tell us about their positions on issues and information about themselves. Tonight, we're very happy to have with us Judy Hanson from Maple Grove, Phillip Gray from Brooklyn Center, and Mark Schulz from Osseo. So we're glad to have all of you joining us tonight and let our audience out there know something about yourself and the issues in your city. And we'll start out with Judy Hanson, and I'll let you introduce yourself out to our wider audience.
Thank you. I think I can speak hopefully on behalf of all three of us that I want to thank you for this opportunity this evening to be able to tell a little bit about ourselves and the great cities that we live in.
Right.
I currently serve on the city council right now.
Okay.
I have since August of 2015. I'm a 25-year resident of Maple Grove, and I've raised my 3 children there. I'm an assistant city attorney in St. Paul, and I think that's given me some really good experience in dealing with city politics and government from a very different perspective.
Right.
I've also been very involved in the community since I've lived there. I started on the Citizens Advisory Committee, and I served on that for about 6 years, and I was a co-chair for 2. And I also served on various task force, the Wetlands Task Force, the Comprehensive Land Use Plan, which is something we're actually working on right now and revising. I was a Girl Scout leader for 6 years and a soccer mom.
You've got a lot of different experiences.
Yes, I think so.
Okay, I asked you to kind of pick some issues. We aren't necessarily picking the most important, but issues that you'd like to share with our audience. Why don't you pick one issue to start with?
Okay, well, I'll start with community development projects that are currently on in Maple Grove, because it seems like that's what a lot of the residents want to know. If they see something going up and it's like, well, what is that? And so we have several projects right now. I think 2 that are of particular interest. There's 2 Hy-Vee grocery stores that are going in. I think the one that folks are the most excited about is the one that's off Bass Lake Road and County Road 101.
Okay.
Because there really isn't a lot of retail or grocery in that area. So they're really excited. I've gotten many, many emails from people hoping that that project will move along. And there's a second Hy-Vee actually going in as well, and that's off Maple Grove Parkway near the Fairview and kind of near the Target area. So in fact, that may even be the first project that will come in. Another very large project is off Hemlock and Elm Creek Parkway.
Okay.
It had started out, it's owned by Mr. Dorn, and he has a project that's right off 610 that people probably see if it's in Brooklyn Park.
Sure.
And he's proposing to, it's luxury housing that's a gated community and a big, huge clubhouse. And that clubhouse will be used, even though it's a gated community, for all the residents in Maple Grove, and there'll be some programming there. But that is a little bit on hold right now. It's coming in various phases. The first phase is going to be a commercial part, and that's a daycare, various retail, grocery, and hotels. So those are just some of the highlights. There's one other thing that's actually being built right now near the Target. That's a Park Nicollet at the Grove, so it's a medical office space.
Yeah, you have a lot of different businesses up in Maple Grove.
We do. There's a lot going on, yes.
And then did you have another issue?
Well, people are always interested in the housing. So again, with that village of Arbor Lakes, the one that's Elm Creek and Hemlock, like I mentioned, that's some luxury housing.
Right.
And that will come in a second phase, and that's targeting 55 and older. There's another development that's coming in that's across from Lifetime Fitness and the community center, and that's Pulte Homes. And that's going to be kind of nestled right in where there's already several townhomes and things. So that's going to be another really great project that I think people are looking forward to.
And in terms of development, are there areas that you think are really important, or areas that you think there need to be any changes?
Well, whenever a project comes before the city council, actually first it goes to the planning commission. So they vet a lot of these projects before they come to us, and I really appreciate the work that they do. And so the other thing is our city staff is really phenomenal. I mean, they work really hard with the developers. They know what our plans are and what we want. So there's a lot of really great communication that goes on with city staff and city council. And the things that we really care about is when a development comes in, what kind of traffic issues. Because you know, Maple Grove's big and it's growing, and if there's any complaint that folks have is that there's a lot of traffic. So we try to do traffic studies first to make sure that that development is going to fit in properly. I'm on the Arbor Committee as well, and so our committee looks at all the trees and the landscaping just to make sure that it's, you know, that those are trees that are going to survive and add beautification to the developments. We also want to make sure that they don't get rid of a lot of trees when the developments come in. Maple Grove residents really like their parks and trails, and so when a development comes in, we want to make sure that there's, you know, good access for people to walk and, you know, have their pets and things like that.
And then a third issue, if you want to just touch on it.
Well, one of the questions I think that you had raised in your sheets, and not that I'm any expert at all, but because you'd asked about tax increment financing, I thought, you know, mostly because I didn't know a lot about it, I wanted to find out more about it. And you had asked if Maple Grove had ever used that in the past, and I really didn't know the answer to that. So I checked around with some folks, and what I learned was that indeed we have used tax increment financing, but we've really limited that to industrial and medical use, because that's really, it's an incentive to bring folks in, and that's using public funds. And so we want to be, Maple Grove's been very fiscally conservative, and I think that's a good thing. I think that's why we've had the AAA rating all these years. And two of the projects where we've used tax increment financing has been SciMed, which is now Boston Scientific, and then the Wedgewood Commons off Bass Lake Road. And the reason we do that is we look at, you know, what do we want to bring into Maple Grove in terms of jobs and tax base. And then when you have something as big as a Boston Scientific, a lot of those folks are going to buy housing close by. There's going to be some other ripple effect. They'll be using services, shopping in Maple Grove. So it's all about bringing, you know, economy into Maple Grove and a tax base.
Well, I'm going to stop you there because I want to now give you a chance to tell the people out in Maple Grove on November 8th, they go in the voting booth. Why should they check your name off?
Well, I really would like your vote in November, and I think because I've already been on the city council for a year, I have really good experience. I've been committed to public service both as a career choice and my entire life. I've done a lot of volunteer work. It's very important to me to be involved in the community. And I'm very committed to doing the hard work that it takes to be a city council person. I'm committed to responding to citizens' concerns. When I get emails, I respond to them immediately, and I care very much about Maple Grove, and I hope to make the best decisions that I can for the city as a whole.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we'll move on to Phillip Gray from Brooklyn Center, and You kind of know the process, so I'll let you introduce yourself out to our wider audience, telling them a little bit about your background and why it prepares you for being on the City Council.
Sure. Thank you for having us here tonight. It's a great opportunity, and thank you very much.
You're welcome.
My name is Phillip Gray. I've lived in Brooklyn Center for about 30 years. Same home. I live in the Willow Lane area, Willow Lane, near the Willow Lane School. I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri. I have degrees in business administration, communications, and criminal justice, and a master's of business administration, which again, I think all of those skills will help me to be a city council person.
Right.
Currently a school administrator, and I work with basically students that are alternative from traditional schools. And I take my job with those students very seriously. I'm entrusted with kind of the future of our city and our state, and I take that very seriously. I'm also married. I have 4 children, 2 adult children. All of my children have been here in Brooklyn Center. I actually have a daughter right now who's at Park Center and a son who attends school here in Brooklyn Center. My wife is also a nurse in the Minneapolis Public Schools. So she told me to say you get a 2-for-1 deal with us because we're both very passionate about young people and about Brooklyn Center. And I love Brooklyn Center. I chose to live here out of all the places that I could move to. I'm also a community restorative justice mediator. So I actually do a lot of work with school districts where I'm brought in to try to ease some of the disparities of suspensions and some of those different things in schools. I've worked in the city sector, the corporate sector, the county sector, and again, the educational sector. My county work was with, as a probation officer in Hennepin County. I also was I worked with a project called the Juvenile Alternatives Detention Initiative, where we again were working with disparities in the criminal justice system. I help communities and organizations connect with the Department of Corrections. I've won a Hennepin County of the Year Employee Volunteer Award for a couple of years in a row, which was kind of cool because there's about 15 to 20,000 employees, and I was highlighted as one of the employees. I'm kind of hitting on a lot here because I've worked quite a bit. I've also been a youth program specialist in the Minneapolis parks. So again, a lot of my work has been working with at-risk youth, and then again, being kind of a conduit between communities and bringing people together to the table. That's kind of where my mediation comes in. And then in my volunteer life, I've worked in Brooklyn Center at the Taxpayers Association. I helped to bring the Brooklyn's Youth Council together. Volunteer at my church quite a bit. I actually helped to bring a Martin Luther King celebration to one of the churches in the area. I don't know if I can say it, but bring one of the that celebration here. So we actually do that every year, breakfast. Again, that's kind of what I bring to the table. Just a lot of experience, a lot of work, and the willingness to continue to do the work.
Okay, now pick an issue that you'd like to share some of your thoughts and ideas with our audience, but particularly the people of Brooklyn Center.
Well, I think one of the great issues that's going on now that's really kind of good for the community is the light rail situation that's about to happen. That is happening and underway, where the light rail is going through actually a lot of the neighboring suburbs, but not really coming through Brooklyn Center. But again, because we have a transit hub, we need to be prepared for light rail. So we should actually have shuttle buses. I don't know if this is something that's being discussed, but we should have shuttle buses on Bass Lake Road, 63rd and 69th, constantly going back and forth between the light rail and the transit station. Because again, that could be an economic boom for Brooklyn Center if you're able to, transport people from different areas of the city, but also have that transportation across from Brooklyn Park to Brooklyn Center. That's one issue that I see us being able to really step forward
Right.
and move ourselves ahead.
Was a current issue that's just in the process of
Yes,
developing.
with the current issue that's developing. Another issue that we're having right now is we recently went online with well, actually not recently, probably about 6 to 8 months
Okay.
to a year ago. We went online with a new water treatment facility. And our community is having some issues.
Okay.
Our Brooklyn Center staff is doing a great job of trying to augment some of the different issues that people are having.
Oh, right.
There's a website, it's called the Friends of Brooklyn Center. It's a Facebook page. And I've been able to keep track of some of the different issues.
Sure.
I actually stepped in and tried to get people from the University of Minnesota to come look at the water quality, because we actually have 2 internationally known water quality specialists. One gentleman is actually working in Kazakhstan here in Brooklyn Center. So they've actually done some testing.
Sure.
And we actually, again, with our Public Works, great job. And I'll say her name, Renee. Renee is the person
sure.
that you call, and she's actually sending people out to your home to test your water. And so that's something that, again, making sure that the services that the city offers are the best possible.
Right, right. Well, do you have another issue you'd like to share?
Another issue, and I think it kind of resonates. One of the issues is just communication. Just trying to figure out how best to serve people.
Right.
How best to keep people up to date as to what the city is doing. Making sure that everyone knows when things are happening, when events are happening, when jobs are open.
Oh, right.
So again, I see myself as being able to not only go into different communities and talk about the things that are happening in Brooklyn Center, but also be able to offer strategies in ways that we can even connect with those communities.
Right.
For instance, my flyers and my information that I pass along to people, I have it in 5 different languages to make sure that everyone understands
Right.
that I'm running for city council. So I have it in 5 different languages to give to
that's pretty good.
different groups. But again, I think the communication piece is what is not where
Right,
it should be.
right.
We actually do a lot of great things here in Brooklyn Center, and I think we need someone that will champion those things, but also be able to, again, communicate with the public and with the community to let them know what we have available.
Right. Now, your turn to talk to the people in Brooklyn Center and tell them why they should vote for you on November 8th.
Well, again, I thank you for allowing us to come in and talk. I'm a person that's been in this community for quite a bit and quite a long time. I've worked in the community. I've been a solid citizen here in Brooklyn Center. I think what you've seen from me and what other individuals know about me is that I am a hardworking person. I believe that I can get the job done. I will continue to work. I believe in transparency and openness, and having the ability to contact me. And I'm known as a person who will follow through and make sure that everyone has a voice at the table. So that's why I think on November 8th, you should flip the switch for Phillip Gray.
Okay, thank you very much, Phillip.
Thank you.
Now we'll move on to Mark Schulz, who's from Osseo and who's running for re-election, right?
Yes, correct.
Now I'll let you introduce yourself out to our wider audience, but also most particularly to those in Osseo who probably already know you, but maybe there's something they could learn too.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much for having all of us here this evening. This is my 3rd appearance on your show.
Right.
So I always like coming to this set. It's a lot of fun and it's a very relaxed opportunity. So again, my name is Mark Schulz. I'm going for my 3rd term on City Council in Osseo. I've been serving the citizens there for 6.5 years. Hoping to, with their blessing, serve for 4 more.
Okay.
I pretty much held every possible position that can be had in the city council currently. I'm the acting mayor, so if our mayor is unavailable, that's my responsibility. Right. I'm the chairman of the Public Safety Advisory Committee. I sit on our Human Resources Committee and our Risk Management Committee. So we meet often with our city administrator to really make sure that we're giving good feedback, not only so he can understand stuff from the city perspective, but also understand things from the residents' perspective.
Oh, right.
You know, we're a very small community, and so we need to be able to carry that through. other than serving on the city council, I think probably the biggest thing that allows me to serve the community is that I'm a business owner. I'm a chiropractor by trade. And so my wife and I have operated our business actually in town for probably about 10 years now. And so when the opportunity came to move it physically onto Central Avenue, we jumped at the opportunity. I'm the parent of 4 children ranging in age from 19 all the way down to 10. So dealing with the chaos there is nothing compared to how easy city council is. It's a great opportunity. So I also serve on I want to make sure that I don't mess this part up here, the Northwest Suburbs Cable Commission.
Right.
And was actually appointed by the 9-member cities in the commission to serve on the negotiating committee for the potential new franchise with CenturyLink coming in, where the communities in the area are going to have the opportunity to have some additional choices in how they get their media. So I've done the job for a long time. I never want to seem complacent, but it really is probably one of the hardest jobs that I think anybody could ever love when you get elected.
Yeah, definitely. We appreciate all the people that are on the councils, but also that are willing to run for the council too. And now we'll turn over the matter of issues that you think you'd like to share with the people out in there, particularly Osseo.
Thank you. It's really a delight to be here with representatives from Maple Grove and Brooklyn Center, simply because of the fact that we've got a whole different set of challenges.
Oh, right.
We're not really in development mode, we're in redevelopment mode. So, and especially in Osseo, because we're so compact, anything new has to fit into an existing space, or something has to go to bring it in.
Right.
The last 2 times I ran, there was a lot of controversy surrounding issues, and this time the hardest thing about it is that when I talk to people about what their concerns and what their worries are, they just keep telling us how happy they are with the way everything has went. And we've had over $35 million of reinvestment as far as commercial building in our community, and that's a low estimate. I don't know the exact numbers, but I mean we've increased our city population by 10% with one building. We've moved a corporate headquarters here from Plymouth for a building company. It's doing a lot of great work around our region, and we're seeing expansion of some businesses that are there, primarily in our elder care community with the Villas of Osseo, as well as our manufacturing community as well. So it's always been my focus on City Council to really make sure that every decision that we participate in, that I do, is I look at it as kind of like a return on investment. I want the citizens, with the tax money that we decide to take from them, to feel like they're getting services that they're paying for. I mean, because when it comes right down to cities, they really only want a couple of things. Number one, people want to feel safe.
Right.
So that's my continued position on local police and fire, is to make sure that that our people know our police officers. Often our police officers say they feel like they're more in a parade than patrolling, because people want to stop and talk to them. It's not something you hear from other communities. So that's really exciting. They want to make sure that they can get to their house. So we've done a massive, aggressive street redevelopment plan. And I think we've done about 2/3 of the city now in the last 3 years, as far as new streets and refurbishment. And they really want the water that they want to come to their house, and the things they don't want to go away. And so, we just have to really focus, because Osseo is an aging community, on redeveloping infrastructure, continuing to focus on that, and then really keeping our eyes open for redevelopment opportunities.
Sure.
But, for me, the hardest time of the year is coming up, and that's when we set the city budget. As I mentioned before, I'm very, very concerned about how hard people work to earn a living.
Right.
And when we tax them for this project or that project or whatever else, I have a really hard time with that, because I know how much, from time to time, my wife and I have struggled, and how every resident struggles. It's easy to look out there and say the economy has recovered, but there are still people without jobs, there's still people on fixed incomes, and you just can't really have a city budget that you can be proud of, in my opinion, that's going up 3 or 4% a year.
Right.
Because it's still more money that people have to come up with, and they're maybe not making it on the other side. So, really focusing on those issues. I voted against our last city budget last year, because I just don't, quite frankly, think that our Budget and Finance Committee and our city administrator worked hard enough to bring that down. And even with those, we're returning, we're not spending our whole budget, so we're being able to do things. And so we've done a lot with capital improvement plan, financial management plan, things that weren't really in place 6 years ago when we started. It was just kind of like a roll the dice and see how Osseo goes. So now, through strong, disciplined principles, and really a deep concern for our residents is what we try to do. And you can never keep everybody happy. It's not possible.
No.
I often joke and say that if a particular resident agrees with me on every single issue that I have to vote on, something's not right with them. Simply because they can't possibly step back and look at the concerns of the entire community.
Right.
Recently we had an issue where there was, a couple hundred people that were upset with something we were planning on doing, but we were looking at the long-term financial benefit of the city and continue to really focus on lowering our tax rate, which is really important for us because we only have such a small area of town, and people don't realize 25% of our town is either schools, churches, or cemeteries. So everybody else has to really kick in there. It's always great when I've been talking to people, especially our business community. I think we have one open storefront on Central Avenue now, which has not been the case in a long time. I can think of maybe one or two other buildings that are looking for tenants currently. When you talk to the business owners and they're not saying that they're paying too much in taxes, because my role, as I always said as a city council person, is to figure out ways to get people to town. It's the business's responsibility to capture those folks. And I really am hearing a lot of very positive things, which is hopefully how everybody feels. But local communication is always a challenge for everybody.
Right. Well, now we'll give you an opportunity to tell the Osseo people why they should vote for you come November 8th.
Thank you. I just want to ask for your vote on November 8th because we've had a great run of 6.5 years of leadership, and we really like to take that to the next level. We've been able to grow the city population, increase the tax base so that there's more taxpayers sharing the overall burden, which inevitably will bring down that for people. Our homes are selling for more money than they ever have been, and we've done all this with focused redevelopment and keeping Osseo the community that we all love and really want to be a part of. So if you're pleased with that, I would really appreciate your support on November 8th. If you're not, I'd really like you to contact me with the information on the screen to let me know different ways that we can make a city more along the lines of what you would like to live.
Well, thank you to all three of you, and we'll wish all of you good luck as you're going forward with your campaigns. Now, we want to ask all of you out there to be sure to take the time to gather information about the people that are running for your city council and mayor. That's the point of government that comes closest to you and affects you directly. So take the time, like on our show, or with the Sun Post, or with the League of Women Voters, take the time to gather information so that you'll be ready to vote when November 8th comes around. And we encourage you to contact the people that are running for council and mayor in your cities and let them know how you feel if there's issues that are really important to you. We're glad that you've been with us, and we'll ask you to keep joining us as we continue with more candidates for the city councils and mayors next week. We'll ask you to, now here I did the same thing, right? And we'll ask you to be sure that you're registered to vote. You can go to the Minnesota Secretary of State's spot and find out if you are registered, and if you aren't, then you can register, because we really, really want to encourage you to vote in the elections on November 8th. Bye.